Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of New Arrivals. Every week I pick out 10 of my favorite watches that we just got in that either have just hit our online marketplace or are about to be listed. So without further ado, let's jump into it with the king, and that would be with Rolex. Here we have two platinum pieces, the Daytona as well as the Day Date. In my opinion, we consider them the king of all Rolexes with ice blue diamond dials. So I'm going to take these two out right here. Actually, I'll just take the first one out and talk about the Platinum Daytona really quickly. So the one that you're seeing right here is actually the reference 116506 with a Piguet diamond dial. With last year's reinvention, or I wouldn't say last year, I'd say maybe two years ago when Rolex updated their Daytonas, discontinued the John Mayer, discontinued the Platinum Daytona, revamped some of the movements, as well as added some new reference numbers, 116, 12126. And the one thing that they did with the Platinum Daytona that I actually don't like is the fact that they took away the contrast of the baby blue and have brown circles in the diamond dial, whereas this one has the flat baby blue sub-dials, which gives the watch and gives the diamonds much more of a pop. Now, of course, the one thing that sets the new reference from the old reference is the exhibition case back, which I think is a remarkable touch. But aesthetically speaking, I prefer the 116506, and this one is actually a very rare one in the sense that it's actually brand new 2022 with stickers. Now, moving on to the next king of Rolexes, we have the President, the Day Date 228206. That's Rolex's previous generation Day Date President, 40 millimeters. And the one thing I will say here that I liked about the old reference versus the new reference is that the new reference 228236 has the fluted bezel. Now, I do love the fluted bezel, don't get me wrong. The problem with it now is that it's very hard to differentiate from the white gold model, the 228239, and most of the dials are the same as the white gold ones, which doesn't really make much sense to me. So the one key thing about the 228206 is the smooth bezel. You can immediately differentiate the fact that it's a platinum Day Date, and of course the ice blue diamond dial is by far the best dial in my opinion. Next up, we have the Patek Philippe 5960 Platinum with this actually very unique strap. I don't think I've ever seen this strap before, and this is like something out of a time capsule what we have it in. The watch is relatively unworn from its original collector. He had it sitting in the safe, all components, box papers, the whole to-do. Even the original skinny brown boxes that they used to come in double sealed, we have that along with it as well. So with the 5960, this is what a lot of collectors define as the golden age of Patek Philippe. We're talking about the late 1990s, early 2000s, where the Platinum 5960 and other references like it, the 5970, the 5070, were all some of the most premium pieces, whereas the Nautiluses and Aquanauts of today are the premium pieces. I remember coming into this business, a 5960 in Platinum with a gray dial or with the blue dial was trading upwards of $90,000 and is now sold right around the $45,000 to $50,000 mark pending condition. What's also extremely interesting about this watch is that this is almost the safest hedge for a collector. And what I mean by that is that the value of this watch has seemingly been the same for the past 15 years. And I've had collectors that have bought this for me, traded it back, and rebought it because they know that they're safe with valuation. So I think there's a lot of value in it from a collector standpoint, and you're just also getting a lot of watch for the money. You have an annual calendar chronograph from Patek Philippe in Platinum that's always trading right around the $45,000 to $50,000 range. If you don't have something that's dressy like this, I highly recommend. Jumping right into the most popular watch, I think, on the planet, that would be the Rolex 126710 BLRO Pepsi. It's really crazy to me when it comes to Pepsis that this is a watch that's been out since 2016. And given the amount of units that Rolex produces on a yearly basis and how many they've produced since 2016, let's even say they've produced 1 million watches a year over the past almost 9 years, about 9 million watches. I don't know how many Pepsis they produce, but I can certainly say it's a lot. And for a watch that's $10,000 or $11,000 at retail that still trades upwards of $22,000, I would say this is probably the best performing watch in the world. Right here, the Rolex Pepsi GMT with a Jubilee band. Speaking of Jubilee bands, we're going to jump right into what we call the Sprite, the Rolex GMT, reference 126720 VTNR. I know that's a lot to swallow right there. On the Jubilee bracelet, or otherwise known as the Destro, this left-hand crown watch has actually been something that when it was first released, I was not really sure about. It was something very bold that Rolex did that I didn't think would really take on. I mean, yes, it's a ceramic bezel GMT, of course it was going to trade over retail, but I didn't really know how well it would do. And this was really one of those cases where don't judge a book by its cover. We've had them very many times before, and now that I've had a lot of wrist time with the Sprite, I can definitely say that this is something super unique, and I actually hope that they discontinue it soon, so years down the line it can be highly collectible. At the rate it's going right now, and if they continue to produce it as a regular production model for many, many years to come, I think that would be a mistake by Rolex, but what do I know? One more other unique thing I want to point out to you here that we have on our new arrivals, something that I bought that we don't really get much in. So the next unique thing I wanted to point out is a Rolex 228239 olive dial. So what makes this one so special, right? This is seemingly a watch that's kind of trading around retail and has been out for many years. Well, it's very hard for you guys to probably see on camera, but this is an Arabic date and wheel 228239, something that's very, very rare that you don't see very much in the United States. They do have these coming from the Middle East at select Rolex authorized boutiques, mainly in Dubai, places like Oman, places like Saudi Arabia. It's really fresh and unique to get one in here because just those little details can make a watch like a 228239 that's mass produced about 25 to 35% more valuable. And it's very, very hard to find now in the United States now that we have this tariff situation and we're not getting in a lot of watches. So when something like this floats around in the United States, I go ahead and buy it. So 228239 green olive dial Arabic day wheel. Next up, we're going to talk about the brick. And yes, I'm sure you've guessed which one the brick is. That is going to be the Royal Oak Offshore Yellow Gold reference 26470BA. Now, they've made many, many bricks over time from the Royal Oak Offshore line. In yellow gold, they made them in rose gold, and the old rose and yellow gold one were actually a literal brick and because they were an actual pound. Now, they've shaved some of the weight off in the newer references, this one being it, the 26470BO. This is one of the newer dials, the yellow gold Royal Oak Chronos or Royal Oaks in general. I would say over the past 20 years were boutique exclusive pieces, and now obviously there's not a lot of authorized dealers anymore. Pretty much everything is boutique, but this is still one of those pieces where there's not a lot of production on them. And normally pieces like this actually also come with the strap and deploying clasp, so you can take the bracelet off. No, it's not quick detach, but you can take the bracelet off, put the strap on, and give it an entirely different look. So haven't had one of these in a while. Next up, we're going to talk about the Rolex GMT two-tone reference 126713 GRNR. Two-tone watches historically over the past couple of years have not been the most popular, right? Of course, you have many, many two-tone Daytonas, you have many, many two-tone Datejos, but two-tone was not really something that was very popular or very much in demand. I would say up until Patek Philippe released the 5980 in two-tone, and then that kind of brought light for collectors to get something that's not necessarily all stainless steel and daily, and not something necessarily that's full gold and a little bit too bold for everyday wear. So two-tone is that perfect balance between sport and luxury. And what I love the most about this, and I think this is kind of piggybacking off the success of the root beer, of the Rolex root beer 126713 126711 CHNR. Yeah, I know I have a lot of random reference numbers in my head. But what I do like about this watch more than the root beer is the faded gray bezel that they have at 6 o'clock right here. I think that gives an incredible contrast to the black ceramic on top, and it's a really, really handsome looking watch. And it's got the gold GMT-Master II writing on the dial, which I think just makes for a very, very aesthetically pleasing watch. Next up, we have the very famous Audemars Piguet reference 15400 ST. Now, this would be the first reference, the previous generation of what we now have as the 15510 ST. This was the first Royal Oak that they made in 41, reference 15400 ST with a blue dial. Over time, they've made a lot of deletions from the dial to signify that it's a 15500 and now the 15510. But the 15400, if you're looking for something that's stainless steel Royal Oak with a blue dial, this is actually going to be the most price-friendly option of the three. Always great having these in. Shelf life is non-existent on this, so hopefully you guys will be able to see it on the new arrivals video before it's too late. And to cap things off, we have something very, very special here. We have, in my opinion, from a brand perspective. Now, obviously, I've been on record saying how much I love Richard Mille and how much I love Patek Philippe and FP Journe. But there's a brand out there, Greubel Forsey, that, in my opinion, makes probably the highest quality watches, period. They are the Rolls Royce of watches. Not only Rolls Royce, they're the Phantom. They're not the Wraith. They're not anything else. They're not the Cullinan. They are the Phantom of watches. Every single nook and cranny, screw, piece of metal in here is handcrafted. It takes forever to assemble every little part. And what I like the most about this Balancier S2 Convex, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure. It's actually scaled down case size from its predecessors, making it much more wearable than the bigger Greubel Forseys of the past. And it's actually also not a tourbillon, believe it or not. Yes, Greubel Forsey, which is not a tourbillon. So this is going to be your most price-friendly option if you're looking to get into the brand. It's something that could be had for right around the $170,000 range. Very wearable, very sporty, very comfortable. And if you just look at all the intricacies in a dial, you'll see how everything is just perfectly balanced. No pun intended with the balance wheel. Just screams ultra high luxury. And it's something, if you're a high-end collector that does not have one in their collection, I highly recommend Greubel Forsey. So that wraps things up for this week's new arrivals. These are my top 10 favorite watches that we got in this week. Next week, we're going to have, hopefully, if you guys keep sending us in watches, we're going to have 10 more fresh pieces for you guys to choose from for me to talk about. Until next time, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on New Arrivals.